Welcome back. It's still VOP this morning on VOP TV. All right, in a bid to curb current hardship in the nation, the federal government has concluded plans to restart the direct cash transfer to the poorest and most vulnerable Nigerians. This is coming in the face of the hardship faced by millions of Nigerians with escalating prices of goods and food items, as well as the continuous fall of the naira. With about 3 million Nigerians benefiting from these programs, the federal government projects that an additional 12 million households can benefit from this direct payment due to the sharp rise in the cost of living, bringing the total of about 15 million households to be benefactors. This was made known by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Wale Edun, during a retreat of the ministry on Wednesday, February 21st, 2024 in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. All right, I want us to know that joining us in this building this morning is Mr. Wale Edun. He is an analyst and also a farmer and educationist. Good morning, Mr. Wale.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to have you in the building.
It's nice.
All right, now we'll have to look at what the Wale Edun talked about and how the president have decided to add in more people to be benefactors or people that will be beneficiaries of the direct payment, direct transfer. And they said they want to do this to help curb the issue facing Nigeria. That is a hardship we're having in the country. And what do you make of this? Do you think this is actually a good step to, cushioning the hardship Nigerians are passing through now?
That's why I normally use the word fire brigade approach when government is doing some things. You get it? See, you've been doing these things for quite some time now. And the question is it working? You've been doing this direct cash payment, you've been doing this whatever. The question is, where did it get us to? Is it really working? It's not working. Why do you keep doing things that are not working? Don't you have a strategy? Don't you have a plan? Don't you do assessment of your programs? It's not working. Keep giving you money, it's not working. You get it? It's not getting us anywhere. Okay. You are saying you give them 15,000 naira, or 30,000, 100,000 naira. Before you know it, price of commodities, goes up to the level in which that money cannot even do anything. And you only pay them once a while. So it's not working. Okay. Called price control. You get it?
But the government have said they are not going to. Government says, the president says, we are not going to move into the price control thing for the meantime. They have their reason for saying that.
So what's the
That's
reason?
why they actually come. But they say they wouldn't want to go into price control for now. I mean, maybe they want to make sure they stabilize everything. Maybe make sure we are now producing country before we now think of how to strike the price control policy.
Even if you are not producing, you get it. If you want things to be normal, you must control. There must be control. It's paramount. It's fundamental. Because if you don't control, even if there is abundance, the people will suffer.
All right. Wale Edun highlighted the use of technology for transparent payment. How confident are you in the government's ability to implement this without encountering issues such as fraud? I mean, knowing full well, or delays, so to say.
Do you remember that time during the COVID-19 era, 2009? In 2010, I think you saw what happened, where people went to the store, the government stores, and they broke the government store and cut away foods. The hungry people, they said there was no food, and government had food in the store. Eventually, people had to go there to break the store themselves and cut away the food. You see? So, what statistics do you want to use? Is it NIN you want to use? Is it the sensor you want to use?
No, the NIN looks visible because that's about where most Nigerians are also identified from.
And then, how do you know the poorest of the poor? If somebody is earning 100,000 monthly and he suddenly lost his job, and you look at his account, 100,000 every month, 100,000, and then suddenly there was no money again. Are you going to call him poor, or you are going to say maybe he has moved his money away to somewhere else? if you are using the bank as a means. So how do you determine the poorest of the poor? Is it the area? That's the strategy we are talking about. If you control price, everybody will spend according to their pocket. You get? Okay. People will spend according to their pocket. You don't need to be chasing them with money. The moment price is controlled, whatever you are earning, you go to that market and you go and buy what you can afford. Look at the restaurants you have around you. You have the big guys restaurant, you have the medium class restaurant, you have the low class restaurant. You see where people go on the street, they just stand on, you get it, in the sun with a bench, and then they are selling them food. They eat because that is what they can afford. The same rice or whatever, or amala that you are buying there, you can go to a medium class restaurant and buy it at slightly a higher price. It's your choice. And if you know that you are the big guys, you can go to a big restaurant and buy it at an expensive rate. It is your pocket. You get? Now, that is the regulation. If there's regulation, everybody will find its means. Some people can go to that market where they sell rice or whatever, you get it, and buy it at a cheaper rate. Some people can go to the big store where there's air conditioner, everything is set, and then you buy it at expensive rate. It is your pocket. So the system will set for you to go to where you can afford, and then you buy it.
Mr. Lawal, you know, before now, the government actually have paid, according to them, 3 million Nigerians this direct payment now. But there's this undertone now. The people are actually crying, or they are saying that this is another means for Nigerians to, or the government to siphon another big amount of money mapped out. You know, picking up money from the Nigerian pocket of Nigeria just to siphon it again. But I don't know what your stand is on that, given the fact that the government told us that they will release 42,000 metric tons of grains for Nigeria. And now they are also saying that they want to add in 12 more million Nigerians into the people that receive the direct payment. Are you in support of the word that, you know, this is a way for them to take in money, or taking money from the account, or do you think the government are working hard to make sure they help Nigerians?
My own is always this. If you set assessment, there's assessment and evaluation. Weekly assessment and evaluation. You get it? Let me just use the word evaluation of your strategy. Weekly, monthly, so that you know whether it's working or it's not working. If you go on the street and ask Nigerians, how many of them have received this money since the government started paying it? You get it? You'll be able to know who and who have received it. Then you know if the government is not saying he has paid 5 million Nigerians, and you sample 50 Nigerians and only 3 of them or 4 of them are saying that they have received it, then it's clear who eventually have you paid. Because I
think the problem here would be collation of data. We've always talked about collation of data.
The statistics.
How did the government come about these poorest of the poor? How did the government come about the figures? Talking about people receiving, well, yesterday I spoke to a few people and I got a testimonial. A lady claimed to have received 25,000 naira once, and she says she's expecting another. But then when you look at the economic status of this individual, this person would not be tagged as poorest of the poor, because this person has a relative 9 to 5. I mean, a good 9 to 5. And but then it was, because I asked, okay, so how did they get your information? I realized they had to register at some point. At a certain time, they had to go to the local government area, register, wrote their names down. But the issue I have with that is looking at antecedents. When you write names down, if that's the way you want to collate information, names, account numbers, and all of that, and what is the guarantee that fictitious names will not fill up that paper? And then you have 60% actual individuals, 40% fictitious names, and then the rest of the money goes into private accounts. We also do know that the humanitarian, I mean, this is a humanitarian issue now.
Yeah.
We know that the humanitarian ministry has been a cesspit of corruption.
Yes.
Monies that were meant to alleviate the sufferings of people have been diverted.
Yes.
What do you think government can do differently this time around to ensure that we don't see a repeat of what has happened in the past?
Last week, because I was they did the collation through the CD. That's the time they did the collation through the year. I think like 3 years ago.
You were part of the.
Yes, I was the secretary of my CD.
Okay. Great.
So they did it impromptu. People have gone to work before they now started telling them to come and register during working time. You get working hours. So many people were not there. We had to contribute money in the community as a community leaders to get a venue for these government officials to come and get names. Now,
well, isn't it meant for those that didn't make it, that don't have a workplace to go to?
I don't know how they. That's why I'm asking. I don't know, because the fire brigade approach impromptu. You will not give enough this thing before you know notice. It. Yes, notice. Now, 2 weeks ago, I think this week, they said some names are out. Discover that in some area, like in my street, we have 36 houses, 37 houses. They want to give 10 people. Out of that 10 houses. 10 individuals, so not houses. So 10 individuals.
Does each individual represent a house?
I don't know how to speak it, because when they told us to bring people then, to inform people, we inform everybody. We even got a venue, got canopies, and then some documents for them. They registered people, as many that came. But now we have 10 people. Out of that 10, 2 people from one household.
So one household is getting 50,000 naira.
Yes, 2 people from one house. In fact, I argued. I was furious. I argued it out that I was arguing it with the new welfare officer. That how come 2 houses? Is it computer that made that mistake or individual? That 2 persons from one house is getting, and most of the houses are not getting. Because you see the address, you write number 21, number 21. The other, so we want to tell me the error. And you saw the same houses. And out, 37 houses. Out of that houses, if you calculate the number of people that you are going to have close to maybe 100 or 200 or even 300 persons, individuals put together. Okay. Now you are giving 10. Now, in some street, 15.
Why the disparity? Is it that, okay, they feel we have more poor people in this street than we do in the other street? Isn't it the same area?
No, there are so many. There are even widows that in my streets
that need this money more than some other people. Oh, okay.
Some of them are even we have to assist them occasionally.
Basically, what we're saying is the problem. We're looking for a solution, but we're still talking about the problem starting from the collation period. Now, I'm going to reiterate the question I asked earlier. What is the way forward? What can they do differently to ensure that if we're given 15 million households, 15 million households means a house is given this amount of money. Maybe the breadwinner or somebody in the house who registered will get the money on behalf of the rest of the people in the house. So if we're given 15 million households, how can this be done? Not a situation whereby one house is getting 2 slots.
Now, the statistics, you get it, is paramount. How do you your parameter for determining the poorest of the poor is very important. If you are making it political, that's one of the issues with government. They politicize many of these things.
If you're saying that, can you state
go to non-governmental organizations?
The household that is receiving, that has 2 slots now on your street, are they active members of any political party?
I didn't even bother to even
check that.
Yes, I was furious because I want. Ordinarily, anybody will see that it is still the same house.
Okay.
And they are listed together, and then you are now bringing it. I was angry that this thing is being influenced.
Do you think they induced it? Do you think they bribed
it's possible.
anybody?
You could have
Or
gone
maybe-
through
maybe it was just
instead
the
of going through the you could have gone through the
list provided?
the executives of each street.
Oh.
You get?
But everybody came to register.
They did it through the CDA. When you finish this thing is supposed to have been done by during weekend. You give 1 week notice. You get? The people controlling each street will know the poorest of the poor among them.
But given the fact that we don't even know what people are earning and how their lives or their families are actually what they're going through now, how can you now say you know the poor of the poorest in the street?
Because each street, has executives. They have the street landlord and tenant associations. So they deal with them, or they collect money for this security, whatever, levies. So they know them, they know who are owing, who are not owing. Even all this Loma refuse rates that increase, we know those who are owing huge amount that cannot afford. There are widows that could not even afford. Some of them are owing 10,000, some as much as 5,000, 9,000. Because you see them, they will paste the notice in front of the house. You get that? Okay, so person is owing, so person has paid.
Poor because they cannot pay. Well, because they don't have the means to pay.
So we already know these people. The landlord and the executives of the landlord and tenant association of these streets already know these people. So if you go through them, you are going to have at least about 80% 90% chances of getting the poor of the poorest. So that's the strategy is very, very key in things like this. Your strategy, what is your strategy? Not that we just sit down somewhere and say, give us name. And there's no way we do assessment of the names that have been given. Did they have phone numbers here? Did you sample the phone numbers and call them? Did you send 1 or 2 officers around to see 1 or 2 of these people as your own statistics to be sure that they actually give us the poor of the poorest? Because when you do your own sampling, you discover that many rich people, their names are even included because, maybe they know the person who knows the person there, and eventually that the time they share that COVID-19 shared in 2019, you see many rich men getting these things.
What's your definition of rich?
Rich means that people who are well-to-do, who are
perceived.
yes, we know them in our area now. I was the CDE, the secretary of my CDE.
You don't think they might be drinking Gary?
Exactly.
Some of them are landlords with flats. So how do you do? They collect money. They are doing where they have cars. Some of them have jeeps, and they give them these things. I was angry. Why do you have to? We need to go through the landlord association.
What did they give them actually?
They gave them this
quarter bag of rice.
Rice and Gary.
Quarter bag. Or a full
No.
bag?
Just like a 1/8 of a bag or 1/6.
Oh.
Just small.
Maybe 10 or 5
They
kg.
gave them along with every other person, or did they sideline some people?
Yes, in the streets they gave like in my streets they gave us 8. And
8 bags.
Yeah, that small bags so just small bag guys. I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
10 kg or thereabouts.
Like
No, it's up to 10 kg.
It's not to 10.
Okay.
Oh.
Should be maybe like maybe
They
2
gave
kg.
each person 8 people.
They
each.
gave 8 to be shared into the streets.
Like 8 bags or
Yes,
what?
8 bags of rice and 8
As big
bags
as the
like this
laptop.
of Gary.
As big as this laptop.
Yes.
If I stretch it out like this. If I stretch it out, it's as big as laptop.
Yes. Something like
Okay. To
that.
be shared between 37
Houses. And they
Houses.
gave 8 individuals. So we were looking for how do we share it. And so being the secretary, what I did was that I just I thought that we are not the one to begin to decide who are the poor, or the poorest of the poor in our streets.
But you say you know the poorest of the poor.
No, what I'm saying.
Don't you think we're making it a lot more difficult for the government?
No,
if you who reside on the street feel like, you're not the one to decide because you don't want to offend.
No, it's not because I don't want to offend. You see, we have the CDA controls the streets. There are some streets under CDA. You get it? Now, those streets, what I was fighting for was that let those streets decide who are the poor. The executives of those streets will decide who are the poor of the poor because they know those people, because they are the one running the government. It's like,
but we're talking about the 8 that was given to your street now.
So I had to hand it over to the chairman of the Residents and Landlord Association of the street.
Okay.
Being the secretary. You get it? So I don't want to look like, okay, I'm the one now deciding, because we have many streets under
basically
the city.
you didn't want to offend anybody, so you had to
not to
transfer
offend.
responsibility,
Yes, the
to
responsibility.
somebody else,
Yeah,
so
not
that they won't
somebody.
blame you. They won't call you the one that did not give them,
Right.
because you know the poorest of the poor. And don't you think that's the same problem the government is
it's
facing?
not. No. The government is not facing that problem. It's like the president, he has been the governor of a Lagos state. He now wants to share something like this. He now decides to share for Lagos state. You can't do that now, because there's hierarchy in Lagos state. The governor is there. The chairman of the local government are there. The CDC of the local government are there. The CDAs are there. The streets are there. So if you tell them to bring names, you give them 1 week notice, and they send the names. You now do your own assessment. You now send officers into the streets. You get it, to sample some of the ones that have been given.
Don't you think this is reactionary? Because Nigerians have been crying that we are hungry, and all of a sudden people have been protesting from different parts of the country, and NLC has also talked about it going on a protest to protest the hunger in the land, and all of a sudden government is calling for a sit and talk. Government is paying 35,000 naira wage award. Government is saying, okay, now want to pay 25,000 naira to 15 million households. Government is trying to, isn't it reactionary?
It's still the system of a fire brigade approach. The house is burning.
Why so?
No, the house is burning now.
Why so? What impression does this leave on you?
It's like the government react when it's glad that it's getting out of hand. But you're supposed to have been able to curb this problem so that nobody comes out and begin to say they want to go on protest. This protest has started for how long now? Now it's when we are going to have a major protest that the government is now saying, okay, I'm going to dish out. So when NSC is not doing the protest again, the government relax again. That's why I use the word assessment and evaluation. You get, if you are doing evaluation of your plan, your plans, you know whether it is working or not. You know where the problems will come out before it is out. You will have known, because you are already assessing what you are doing. Like this one, you said you want to give the poorest of the poor. You cannot sit in Abuja and tell us you want to know the poorest of the poor in deepest area.
That's why they use the CDAs. That's why they use the local government.
And how do you know that those ones have not been biased? How do you know? This CDA,
if
the CDA and
people are
CDC, which
biased,
really do election.
If the people are biased,
No
then that
election.
shows you don't have to blame the government again, but you have to blame the people who decide to be biased in sharing what they say is for the poorest of the poor. So why will they not bring in the blame again and put it on the government?
Because it is the responsibility of the government. If you are a mother and one of your child, you said, okay, everybody go and carry your food, and maybe one of them is crying because maybe the senior or maybe the next senior person has taken his food. You get it? And it's crying. You know, when it's not my business. After all, I've told all of you to go. You still have to come in and see how you can resolve that problem.
Okay.
You have to deal with the person that is responsible.
I'm going to hold you on this analogy now because it's quite interesting listening to you all the while. You just used the analogy of a mother and the child or the children.
Yes.
One is crying again. Now, the mother would have delegated the duty now to the elders, which, just like you've rightly pointed out, the CDAs. Now, if the CDAs have told the mother, who of course are the elder brothers now, that they have distributed this thing, would you blame the mother for keeping quiet after that distribution?
No. If there's no problem, if nobody's complaining, everything is fine. But if one or two of them, are crying, or maybe one of them is crying, or maybe the smallest one, we can refer to that as the poorest, is crying. Maybe the junior one is crying. of course the mother must listen. Why are you crying, Moses? And the person, my food, my food.
All right,
and you will now mention somebody who has taken the food, and the mother will now come and say, come, why did you take his own food?
Let's get to it. Let's just wrap this up.
That's responsibility.
What other measure would you suggest that the government take to measure success of such social intervention? What other measures, aside the ones you mentioned? Practical measures.
Good. Go to send officials to the deepest. The deepest itself. Collate, you already have the names of the streets in your database.
Okay.
You have the names of all the streets in Lagos State in the database.
That's using Lagos State as an example.
Yes, you have the names of the streets. That's why we call it ward. So in each ward, you have the names of the streets. Then go through the executive of those streets. If you go through the executives of those streets, they will give you names of the people that are poor of the poorest. Then you now send your officials out to sample. You can do that by calls. Just pick a call. Hello, am I speaking with so this is from the well, can you the person from what the person is saying, you take note. You send people out. Maybe 2 they just go to one, or maybe you out of 37 houses in my streets, you can just sample maybe 3. You get the names of those people, and you see them, you see them and take your report down. From those reports, you now put it together and see whether you have the names, the database of the poor of the poorest. If they give the name of somebody, maybe Fina, now you go there, you see that her name is there as the poor of the poorest, and she's working, she's the maybe MD of one big bank. I say, oh, madam has gone to work. Where does she work? She works with this oil company, and you already know that this thing is not.
All right, then. Well, unfortunately, we have to anchor this conversation here.
Okay.
We must say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Wale Edun. Thank you for coming on the program.
Yes, sir.
Now, we'll take a break. When we come back, I will be talking business.
Where your